Just as a formality, to make sure we get it right, if you could say and spell your name.
Darlene Welton,
Mm-hmm.
Darlenewelton.
Okay, great. If you want to paint the picture of kind of what life was like for your son before finding the Freedom Center, what was going on?
What life was like before the Freedom Center? Hell. Yeah, it was a roller coaster. It was up and down. The drug usage was, of course, I was in denial, so I had no idea how much drug usage was going on until a couple incidents that confirmed it. I was already going to counseling, and it was my psychologist that recommended the Freedom Center. And my husband and I actually started coming before my son agreed to come. So we came to a couple of the Friday family nights, and it was awesome. The minute you walk in the door, you just feel just a sense of belonging and so much support.
Like things are going to be okay?
I wasn't sure if things were going to be okay, but at least I knew where to come for that support. I mean, you're desperate. You're just desperate for whatever. But the very first night here, it was awesome. It was another addict that kind of started my process in recovery. You know, the recovery of the loved ones is just as important as that of the addicts. So when I started my recovery is when, you know, my son Troy started his.
At his, let's say, worst, what was he doing? What was his drug usage like?
Well, when we first realized what his drug usage was, we really didn't have a clue. I mean, the high school pot stuff, you kind of figure that out because you find it, but I had no idea. He's had pretty bad trauma in his life. His grandpa died when he was 15, and then his best friend, who was also named Troy, died when he was 16, almost to the day. August 28th for my dad and August 27th for Troy. Then he was playing football in high school and hurt his shoulder, which got him pain pills. So between the grief and the pain pills, I'm pretty much sure that's what started the process. And then he went off to college. He did call a couple of times, said he was depressed, and we got him in to the doctor. And I kind of blamed them as well because they just prescribed something and didn't recommend psychotherapy. They actually gave him Valium, which is not an antidepressant. I mean, he flat out said, "I'm depressed." So it was just, I don't know, just a process that took him down the wrong road. It just seemed like everything kept happening. And then when he was 20, he got testicular cancer. Okay, 20-year-old boy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was devastating.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, so you got pain pills again, plus you have a devastation to a young man. But it appeared that he came through that just fine, but apparently not, because when he was still up at college, they were drinking and carrying on, and something happened, and he tried to overdose with the Valium and the alcohol. They put him in a 72-hour hold for that one. So I always feared of suicide. My fear was suicide, and that was my biggest mistake, is protecting him. Don't rock the boat, don't get him excited, he might commit suicide, you know. And so I think you're in denial and you kind of ignore. If I knew that there was drug usage, I'm not even sure I really knew. And then when he came home, he appeared to be doing good. He enrolled in a sheet metal school and appeared to be doing good, but you know what's in construction? Drugs. So it was on Thanksgiving 2 years ago that we discovered he was smoking heroin. And it just was a spiral downhill from there. And a year ago, December, the Freedom Center, Lawrence helped with an intervention, and we got him up to Harmony in Estes Park for a 28-day stay. He appeared to be grasping it, doing okay. Got out on New Year's Day, and I mean, we know now he used that day. It was very mind craziness from that day to the day he relapsed in March, because it's like I knew he was using, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And then he relapsed on March 11th, heroin, and almost died. So we took him back to Harmony for a 2-week stay. And then from there, the hardest thing I ever had to do as a parent is I had to tell him he couldn't come home. I said, "You can't come home." He's like, "Why, Mom?" I said, "Because you will die if you come home." So we found a sober living facility in Carbondale, Colorado. And he actually found it, him and his counselor up at Harmony, and he was so excited that day he found it. He said, "Mom, you know how you're always saying everything happens for a reason? I think I relapsed for a reason. I've always wanted to live in a small town, and I was just scared to do it, but this has forced me to do it." Miracle number one. Well, miracle number one is Lawrence and the Freedom Center. They pretty much saved my kid's life. So he's 7 months sober. He's happy. He's not even in the sober house anymore. Two guys from the sober house and himself have moved out. He's the manager of a meat department, and he's doing awesome.
That's so wonderful. What a ride.
Yeah. The ride was, you feel like you're in this storm that just keeps going round and round, and it's just mind craziness.
Yeah. You think you do everything right as a parent, or you could second guess everything you've done.
Guilt as a parent was a huge one to overcome. What did I do wrong? What did I miss? Those commercials that say, know who your kids' friends are. I knew who they were. They're all good kids. And you know what? The very first night I came to the Freedom Center, I'm looking around the room, like, these addicts and alcoholics are all so normal looking. I don't know what my stereotype was, but they're all so normal looking. And I haven't met an alcoholic or an addict that I haven't liked. They're so kind. There's something about this disease that somebody's got to figure it out. Because they happen to be the most kind people I've ever met. And I think they're just so hard on themselves, and they get hurt so easy because they are so kind.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if I have any advice, it's get your support. You got to have support as the loved one.
So what about the Freedom Center? How did that really impact your son's life? What difference did it make?
Well, the Freedom Center for Troy, he actually made a comment just last week. He said it didn't work for him, but I reminded him, yes, it did. The Freedom Center was the stepping stone to the next step. And my psychologist kept telling me Troy needed inpatient, but I wasn't ready. So the Freedom Center led us into inpatient and educated us. I didn't have a clue about any of this. I didn't know something like the Freedom Center existed. I didn't know Harmony. I didn't know. That's just not a world you go in. I mean, the stereotype is weird people go there, you know. Abnormal people, not us, not our perfect little family. But yeah, they saved his life.
So now the future, this point forward, what does his life look like? What's his outlook like?
You have to practice recovery every day. He was reminded of that last week. He's like, oh yeah, I haven't been to a meeting in a while. He was in a funk, is what he calls it, in a funk. And a coworker just flat out asked him, when was the last time you've been to a meeting? But I think if you continue to practice recovery every day, there isn't a reason you can't have a very long, happy life. And he is happy. And I'm happy. I never thought I'd say that. A year ago, you would not, no. I didn't think we were going to make it. I just really feared for his life.
And just to wrap things up, the family, what's the family look like now and the hope for the future?
Well, I can pretty much just speak for myself. I have great hope. I let go and let God, and I definitely live one day at a time. Today's a good day. Will tomorrow be? I don't know. You know, I know some of the other family members, his sister's still struggling with it, but in time, when it's time, she'll be fine. And his dad, my husband, he's recovering too on his own way.
It's a process.
It is a process, and it's a journey. And you know, a year ago, somebody told me the journey, you would end up loving the journey. I would say they were full of it. But I do love the journey. Looking back, I just can't believe the people I've met, the stuff I've learned. It's just, I guess I'm glad I went through it.
Sure.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I'm glad I went through it.
Let me have you a little exercise where I'm going to give you a statement. You fill in the blank. You repeat the first half.
Okay.
You fill in the blank. The Freedom Center helped my son to.
The Freedom Center helped my son to get more educated about the disease of addiction.
How about the Freedom Center helped our family?
The Freedom Center helped our family have faith, hope, gave us the strength to move forward.
That's very good. Anything else you'd like to say about the Freedom Center?
I love them. And someday I will pay it forward. They were very kind to us. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For sharing that story.